what do those experiences that resonate with us from our past mean to who we are today? And what about these things that evoke these childhood memories? What do they say about who we are? I'm certainly a product of my childhood and my upbringing with an entrepreneur mom and an entrepreneur dad and an artist mom. It's like I was born to be a crafty entrepreneur. My dad is kind of the classic American dream Horatio Alger kind of story. He had his first fireworks stand at 16, and then he had 2 when he was 17 and 4 when he was 18. And he continued to grow like that until he became one of the biggest importers, distributors, and retailers of fireworks in the country. And in the early days of his business, times were kind of tough, so he couldn't afford to pay for a babysitter, so we were always at the store. The first time I worked and got paid, I was 7, and I've done something to help my dad with his business probably every year of my life ever since. But it's really probably my mom who has a greater influence on who I am every day and my view of the world and my creativity. And I don't know, I think she's an amazing artisan. She can refinish furniture, she can reupholster furniture. I think she can cane chairs, I don't know. She can paint, she sews, everything. And when we were kids, she was always encouraging us to be creative and to make something every single day. If we wanted some crazy Halloween costume, she sat us down at the sewing machine and we sewed that costume together. And so yeah, looking back at my childhood, definitely those early experiences shaped who I am. And I bet it's probably the same for everyone a little bit. I want to try something to get us all on the same page. Everybody raise your hand, it's kind of your early morning stretch. Everybody, come on, okay. And now try to recall your first memory. And when you think of it, go ahead and put your hand down. Like get back in that space of your first memory, that early childhood. Are we all there? We're all back when we were little kids? Okay, I'm gonna tell you about my first memory. That's my mom. She's beautiful, right? And my first memory, I know it was the summer before I was 3. It's really, really hot, and I'm in the back of some huge late 70s Buick or something. And the door opens, and out of the shimmering heat, this beautiful vision reaches in. And I just remember being so overwhelmed by that beauty. And then I realized, that was my mom. And she's smiling at me, and that sense of beauty and that feeling of joy were all wrapped up together. And I don't think a day goes by when I don't think about that moment. So every day I have happiness, and I have joy, and I have beauty. And I'm one of those people that's really easily moved. I recently went to see my friend's skate punk band, and I cried. Just seeing people being creative and doing what they love and sharing with the world is really, really moving to me. But I don't think that I realized how poignant my childhood was to me or how magical it really was until I became a mom. That's my Eloise. She's here too. Miss Eloise, Lady Eloise, can you raise your hand? There she is. And before she was born, I would spend 2 months in China and 2 months in the United States, traveling while I was here too. I probably spent more time on airplanes than I did in my own bed. But I was exploring the whole world, I could have a long layover in Japan and hop out for some sushi or fly through Hong Kong on the way to China and go on a shopping spree. And it was exciting, I had so much to explore and so much to see and to do. And I kept traveling even when I got pregnant. And there was a day when my doctor said, that's it, you're done, put the passport away. And kicked and screamed like a little kid. I'm like, no, this is my life, this is my world, I have to do it. But I stopped. Put the passport in the drawer. I think it's still in my top dresser drawer since, 2009. And my world shrunk from this huge global world to the size of my little property, which, by the way, is only 25 feet wide by 175 feet long. And my store and my tiny house are on the same spot. And the really magical thing that happened when my world shrunk like that, and I slowed down a little bit, was that there was so much more wonder and magic in my world. I got to see what my friends were really doing and notice sunsets and rainbows and all of those wonderful things. And then Eloise was born, and it's like I got to be a kid all over again. All of her first experiences became my first experiences again. I remember the first time she ate bananas, and she was laughing so hard, she was like spitting them all over me. And I thought, how many times have I just wolfed down a banana going from one thing to another without even tasting it? And having a child made me realize maybe you should take the time to taste the bananas. And kids are so creative. I think humans are innately creative. We want to make and to do and to explore and learn. And it's really inspiring to be around kids. I recently read Susan Freud's interview with Kalina Ross of Urban Cipher for 100 Colorado Creatives. And when she was asked if you could collaborate with anyone in history, who would it be and why? Her answer was babies. I think the answers to most problems are the simplest ones, yet we ignore the ideas that seem so simple. Why must life be so complex? Babies are a true reflection of what our souls desire at the core, and that would be quite the collaboration. I know I'd collaborate with little Avery. And kids they're so resourceful. If they want to do something, they will find the tools to do it. In this first picture, I don't know if you can all see it, because it's kind of behind me, Eloise locked herself in the store bathroom, sprinkled baby powder all over the floor, and started drawing in the powder. And I'm scrambling for the key. I open the door, and of course, the first thing I see is mess. Everywhere, mess. But when I looked a little closer, I saw that she had drawn all those kind of early childhood figures with the big potato head and the long, skinny stick legs. She was so moved and driven to draw that she found whatever medium she could. Of course, all the markers and pens are out of reach because she's been drawing on the walls. So she drew in the baby powder on the floor. And similarly in the last picture, then she was obsessed with makeup. So of course, makeup is higher than I can even reach. And she's using sidewalk chalk to color her friend's face and her own face. And the picture in the middle, she is finger painting with her toes, naked, and having the time of her life. And I don't know if I have ever finger painted naked, but I bet it's pretty fun. And kids don't try to force themselves to do something just because it's good for them. You never hear a kid say, I really want to put stickers all over the walls, but I'll play Battleship instead because I need to work on my strategic thinking skills. They don't even think about it. They just put the stickers everywhere, and they love it, and they have fun, and they express themselves. And being so in the moment and so aware of the world around you allows kids to notice everything that's happening. Eloise sees every shape in the clouds. She sees every little strand of tinsel that someone forgot that they haven't taken down from Christmas yet. She dances to the quietest music and ringtone. She's always moving. We were at the Youth Art Boogaloo this past summer, and we were watching a choreographed performance by Spoken Motion. And Eloise was so moved that she jumps up and starts spinning around in front of the whole performance. And suddenly their choreography is changing, and they're telling me to come up and dance too. And just that drive and that child being moved made this whole spontaneous performance just happen. The more I thought about it, I'm like, childhood's so magical. Our childhood memories are amazing, and watching children is so charming. So why do we have to grow up? I think we should try to be children forever. And when I thought about that, it brought me back to my mom again. There's a picture of her being super playful in her 20s, and then a more recent picture, ziplining. When I thought about myself and my childhood, when I was younger, I loved to make things every day with my mom, and I was always organizing my neighborhood. That's what I chose to play. That's what I was good at. We would make puppets with my mom and then put on a puppet show or design sets for some neighborhood play. We'd have crafty camps and all kinds of stuff. And it took me a long time to get back to that, to realize that I could play what I loved every day. I make something every day, cute, happy, smiley little things. And I try to inspire other people to make things every day too. And it's fun. And the amazing thing about that is I used to have to reward myself for a long trip or doing really well at a sales meeting or something, pedicures, little vacations. But now my life is so rewarding and so fun that every day kind of seems like a vacation. And I think that being so happy with my life and the world around me shows in the things I make. Everything's simple and sweet. I like to scan vintage fabrics, especially things that I snipped from projects that my mom made back when I was a child. And then I scan those and make collages to make little jewelry pieces. This necklace has some pieces of fabric from my mom. Even clothing I make is youthful and happy, and I use a lot of vintage fabrics, some from my mom. And I like to think that all that joy that I feel in my life goes into the things I make and then goes home with the person who buys it. I don't know how you couldn't smile if you were wearing a dress stamped with swans. You'd have to be pretty depressed. But more than doing what I love and playing and having all this fun every day, I get to be with Eloise every day. Children are small for such a short amount of time, and it's amazing to get to be with them as much as possible. Eloise goes everywhere with me. She goes to every Denver Handmade Alliance board meeting. She's been to a Create Denver meeting. There she is on the runway with the models having a great time. And I also get to be like a stay-at-home mom. I get to have this joyful creature inspiring me every day. She's a fabulous critic. I mean, she'll look at something I made and say, no, Mom, that's dorky. But it's great. I've got her influence. My childlike spirit is still alive, but then I can check with a real child to make sure I've got it right. All through my 20s, when I was working in the shoe industry and then the fireworks industry, there was a poem that I kept with me. It was kind of my mantra about creativity needing boundaries. Your greatest creative moments happen when you've got these boundaries. And I don't think about the poem as much anymore, so I'm going to have to read it. But it's a Wordsworth poem. Nuns fret not at their convent's narrow room, and hermits are contented with their cells, and students with their pensive citadels. Maids at the wheel, the weaver at his loom, sit blithe and happy, bees that soar for bloom. High as the highest peak of Furness Fells, will murmur by the hour in foxglove bells. In truth, the prison unto which we doom ourselves, no prison is, and hence for me, in sundry moods, 'twas pastime to be bound within the sonnet's scanty plot of ground. Pleased if some souls, for such their needs must be, who have felt the weight of too much liberty, should find brief solace there, as I have found. And I still believe that we need some boundaries to really break through on creative problems, but I used to have such tight boundaries. The average fireworks consumer loves NASCAR and hunting and MMA, and I would design these labels, and our customers would say, you don't wear that duck hunting. And I'm like, well, I don't know that, and it wasn't authentic. My heart wasn't in what I was doing. Yes, I was solving the creative problems and reaching my goals, but for some reason I wasn't really that satisfied. And I always had another project tucked in my bag, some cute little embroidery or knitting or jewelry making that I couldn't wait to get back to. But I thought, this is what I have to do. I have to be a grown-up, right? This is my grown-up world. I'm accomplishing something. But then, I don't know, Eloise was born, things changed, and I realized that maybe if I stopped forcing myself into this grown-up kind of sonnet and just did what I loved, I'd be happier. I've tucked my notes into this book. It's kind of my security blanket up here today. It was my favorite when I was little. It's called The Witch Who Was Afraid of Witches. And it's about a little witch whose older witch sisters are very accomplished witches. They have the scariest spells and the best brooms, and she always feels a little bit inadequate. And then one Halloween, she finds her own power. She realizes that she can fly higher on a kitchen broomstick, and even though her spells aren't scary, they work. And she's afraid that her sisters are going to laugh at her, but they respect her and they welcome her for being who she is. And yeah, when I broke out and just did my thing, I got more done. I'm happier, and I guess I get a little bit more recognition too. I don't know. There's Wendy flying on her little kitchen broomstick. It makes me think a lot about the Little Prince and his sort of tension with the grown-up world. He doesn't really understand it. He doesn't really respect the grown-up world that much. And his world is sweet and honest and small, and he's very childlike. The author of Peter Pan said that genius is the power to be a child again at will. And there was a study where a group of adults were given the Torrance test of creative thinking, and half were asked to just take the test, and the other half were asked to imagine that they were 7 while they took the test. And the amazing thing that happened was the group channeling childhood scored better, especially on things like originality of thought. So there it is, my small little world, my 25 feet of the art district. And sometimes I marvel at how happy I am. My whole life seems kind of like an indulgence, even though I make a lot less money and I haven't seen a duty-free shop since long before Eloise was born. Like the Little Prince, where I come from, everything is very small. From the tiny earrings in my tiny shop to our tiny budget, I live this sort of fairy tale life, like some character in a cottage in the woods. The scope of my world is small, but it's authentic and it's meaningful. I always want Raccoon to carry local designers because it means something to me to be a part of my community and know my neighbors. I only carry handmade goods, not goods locally designed and made elsewhere, because handmade evokes simpler times and embodies some of the spirit of the maker. My own brand is in a handful of boutiques across the nation, but I always make sure I only take on as many orders as I can make by hand. I have pretty old-fashioned sensibilities, but more than that, I believe living simply and being neighborly are the most important things that I can do to help sustain both my community and the environment. Even if, for some reason, I was given the opportunity to license my product or produce it in factories, I don't think I'd go back to that world. This means I'm probably putting a definite cap on my earning potential. But it also means that I'll always have the luxury of waking up in my tiny cottage behind my fairy tale store to dance with Eloise. And I'll rest easy knowing that the mark I leave on the world will be big enough so that those I love remember, but small enough to save room for everyone else. Children are compelled to play no matter how much or how little they have. It doesn't take any special equipment or circumstances to infuse childlike wonder and play into life. You just have to do it. So I want to ask you to make your New Year's resolution. Thanks. Okay, thanks. I was trying to rush. It is New Year's resolution time, right? And so a lot of people are probably trying to quit smoking or run more. But maybe we should all have something a little bit simpler for a resolution. Play more. Let your mind wander. Next time you're stuck on a creative problem, just consult your inner 7-year-old, see what they have to say. Or maybe just be like me and Eloise, and when you get up in the morning, start your day with dancing. In fact, I want you all to stand up again, to stretch. You all have to do it. I'll pry you off your chairs. And let's dance. Can we have the music now? Oh, you want to talk? Oh, you don't like the song? Cat to talk? Does anybody have any questions for me?
No, me.
Oh, you want to say something? Okay, say it. That's my microphone. Any questions? My husband, Jammer, is a landscape designer. His company is Small Planet Gardens, which I think is appropriate. Okay, do it. Kind of cool that he has a small world too. He tries to have the least impact on the environment as possible. A lot of xeric plants, smaller trucks, things like that. Then say something. Say it. Up there. And he's amazing. He's probably one of my best inspirations in my life. He's a real supporter. My husband's office is in a little room inside the shop. So the three of us and our cat all live and work on this tiny little spot. Any other questions? Yes, RJ.
Megan, when you were kind of transitioning your life from jet-setting fireworks person.
I miss my friends in China. When I worked so much in China, the place that I spent the most time in a row would be China. The only place I had an office was Guangzhou. And a lot of my friends in China can't get visas to come here, so I miss them. Every day, every day. I don't open my store until the afternoon when she goes to school, so I get a couple of hours to do grown-up things. But in the mornings, we start the day with a project that we can do together, and I show her everything I make and ask her opinion, and she'll tell me what I should make next. She made me make a bunch of little fairy necklaces recently. Yeah?
Does the name of your store come from something from your childhood?
No, it's not really that interesting. I wanted to have an animal logo. I designed that funny little face, but I didn't want a bird. And I have people go screaming down Santa Fe so fast I needed a short name and a short, bright logo that would catch their eye. A lot of people have seen my store, but not that many people have been to it.
What would you say to somebody who maybe wants to change their world but doesn't have something in front of them forcing them to do it?
If you really want to do it, just do it. It's not really that hard. I mean, I thought there was no way, especially because I was working for my family's company and some of their partners. I was afraid to let all my relatives down and these old family friends. So beyond just not having a job that was the grown-up world with a larger, steady paycheck, I didn't want to leave all those people behind, but I still just did it. And they still like me. My dad still loves me, and I'm happier. Anything else? Yeah?
Obviously not always a fairy tale. Can you talk about what the biggest challenge business-wise?
For me, because I run Raccoon with a teeny tiny budget, it's being able to build exposure for the store and for my brand. And yeah, the paying bills, paying taxes, sweeping the floor, all these things that you have to do when you have a store are kind of tedious, but if you don't, I try not to worry about them. I just do it, and I'm done with it, and I can move on to my regular fun world again.
Mommy?
Yes, dear.
Can this be all done?
Can this be on what?
Can this be all done and I eat a snack?
You can eat a snack. You can go eat a snack right now. Any other questions? So then, as Eloise said, can this be all done and we can go and eat a snack? Thanks, guys, so much.